Hello, welcome to SHOWstudio. Last head-to-head of the season. Men's Autumn-Winter 19 has ended in Paris, and I'm going to go head-to-head with Calum Knight. Welcome back, Calum.
Thank you for having me again.
Thanks for being here. So Calum was actually in Paris, so you've seen all of these live, but I will be also interested in hearing what you heard. Because I want to start immediately with the two big houses that showed in Paris. So it was the second show for both Virgil Abloh at Louis Vuitton and Kim Jones at Dior. And one thing that I noticed on people's Instagram, on my Instagram, online, YouTube, whatever, is that there was a little bit of a sort of a war going on, not actually between them two, but within people commenting. So, you know, the Virgil fan were like, ooh, Kim's collection was so agey, and Kim's fan were like, this is a real designer. So I have a little bit of an opinion, of course, but I'm not going to influence you. But what I want to say is that for me, that's not about a war. It's about a great designer who started streetwear a long time ago and is moving on to what we think is today needed or the trend, and a new designer who's actually more of an art director, a great marketeer, a great brandier, certainly not a designer by trade, who is trying to sort of reform tailoring and reform the way a man in a classic dress should look.
Yeah.
What do you think, but also what did you hear being around them? It
was quite evident in terms of the different publications that were, or the different people from different publications that were really into Virgil's show and really into Kim's show. It did definitely divide the pack. I mean, actually, pretty much across the board, Kim's show got rave reviews. But the people who really...
It was amazing.
I mean, it was great. And even Kim said it himself backstage. He was saying, you know, this is kind of my seminal work. This is the best thing that I've ever done.
That's the best way to say it. I totally agree. It was extraordinary.
So it didn't divide the pack so much, but lots of people who were so verbally excited about Dior were less keen on the Louis Vuitton. But I think actually the ideas behind them were similar, actually, of trying to dress this new man who wants a bit more fluidity, who wants all of this, but there did seem to be, Kim seemed to have more refinement to it. And
can we call it experience in,
and
in tailoring?
I mean, definitely.
My take, and we will go into the show in a second, because these two shows deserve to be seen and analyzed for a little while, but it doesn't have to be, if you like one, you have to hate the other, or vice versa. I think, you know, I absolutely adored Kim's work for Dior, this time even more than the time before, but as much as I respected and loved his work, what he did at Vuitton before. But it doesn't mean that I can appreciate something that Virgil does. It's not always my cup of tea, but we can't deny that it's brought something to the narrative of fashion, to 2019, to, you know, apart from the first black man at Vuitton, but that's... but what he's bringing to fashion is important.
Yeah, but also not just what he's bringing, but the people he's bringing with him. These people, you know, people who have never bothered to look at fashion, and, you know, and pretty much solely down to him, Yoon, Matt, Kim Jones, kind of these kinds of people, and Jun Takahashi actually are bringing a whole new audience. And, you know, they're propping up menswear. Menswear sales are growing exponentially compared to women's wear. And that's because they've managed to find a new market. I mean, the thing that I find quite funny about this is that because menswear is a newer business in terms of having its own show and its own week, it's newer than women's wear, it's managed to be a lot more digital and a lot more accessible and brand itself as this kind of, as an accessible thing, whereas women's wear is still very stuck in its 1980s, 90s kind of hoity-toity. All of this, where menswear's...
We will go ahead to add on that too. I agree to disagree a little bit, especially after seeing couture, but let's go through women's wear season. And but it's true, menswear has given more possibility because it was just classic, you know, either you were wearing whatever or it was classic, and then fashion came along for men and actually allowed all kinds of men, straight and gay and in between, whatever exists, to want to know what they wear. But let's go into first Louis Vuitton, and I guess we're seeing it right now, and tell me what you think. about the tailoring, about this new way of wearing
I think there's lots of really interesting points. So like the printed shirt, kind of pajama look, I thought was really, really gorgeous. And actually the first grey looks had very interesting tailoring and new looks at tailoring and layering, which I thought were interesting. But I didn't particularly like them in that way. And actually more than not like it, just didn't feel cohesive. And walking into the show, obviously we had all the excitement from last season and people were wearing it. And one thing I can say is anyone who was dressed in Louis Vuitton
wearing it
looked amazing. Like actually these clothes on,
including
from the
women.
runway, for men, women, people of all different ages, from different races, looked incredible. The colors of last season looked really great. So that felt really exciting, thinking, God, this is translated. And then I went into this and it just felt like it didn't connect in the same way that his last season did, and that it was too much about a show. It was...
Yeah, what about that set? Did it add or confuse or...?
It was a bit confusing. It didn't really seem... It was a bit like a TV set. You know when you see those weird things those things in movies where it kind of takes the piss of a TV set and a wall falls down and everything feels very flat? It's because it had all the images of New York, but they were flat with then a few 3D objects out of it.
Okay.
So it kind of was in this weird 2D versus 3D, which was quite interesting, I guess, in a way, compared to looking at what he was making that was all these kind of flat embossed with then the big pockets. So maybe that was on purpose, but it did slightly take you out of it. And also, unless you're in the first row, because of the stacked seating, you could only see from here up.
Oh.
So I had no idea that the light-up bags.
You didn't
see the light-up shoes, the light-up bags. So I couldn't get a real feeling, and also everyone in the crowd was watching like this.
That's really annoying. I mean, that's really annoying. Sometimes even someone just next to you with the phone out, then you can't see anything. But that's
it just wasn't.
What did you think about those flags, clothes, and what they meant? I mean, I know what they meant, but what did you think about that?
Visually, as a piece, I think it doesn't translate this idea. It's a very simple way to translate the idea of multinationality, because actually we found out afterwards the idea was they were all the flags of the people who'd worked on the collection, which is a beautiful idea actually, and a really celebratory idea. But actually it seemed quite surface, and I think there could have been lots of other ways to translate that into the collection.
Yeah, that was the problem. I also thought it was a very good idea and a good homage, but I can't say. Yeah. And I wonder do you think those flags, clothes can become a trend and can become like, I'm wearing Virgil Abloh, this is what you think.
Because it's so recognized by him, it's such a loud print. I'm sure people will want it and will want to engage with it. I mean, so many people loved it, but the thing that I had a problem with was just mainly that these clothes there's lots of great ideas, but there were too many, and they were quite surface.
That he couldn't edit himself.
Yeah, or there was just too many things going on. I mean, they're strange references to start with. It was Jamiroquai and Michael Jackson, but then you had people doing...
He's a great showbiz. He's just a great show businessman. I mean, that's not what I wanted to say, but he's a great maker, of show, but there is some business in there. He's not stupid. He knows, maybe, I don't know if we're seeing this fur or fake fur with a hint of the flag, but that you really have to know to see it. So, it's clever.
But I wonder when these pieces are taken apart and, in 6 months when you go on the Vuitton website, I'm sure there'll be lots of pieces.
Is his first collection selling?
His first collection is selling. It's all, I went online last night, it's all sold out. Online.
It's all sold out?
Pretty much all gone. Some pieces are still there, but all the leather goods, all the small leather goods, the harnesses, I think some of the suits are still there. And some
harnesses,
of the...
we've also seen them at the Golden Globes and the SAG Awards, so that helps, you know.
But it looks amazing online.
But what about the tailoring, the clothes? Do they sell as much?
Yeah, so the clothes, lots of them are gone. I think some of the actual suits haven't sold out in all sizes. But
people have not seen Naomi in it. She looks so beautiful.
Well, that's what he's got such a great, I mean, I want to say word of mouth, but it's word of, because people like Naomi wearing it, which is a new word of mouth, is incredible. And these clothes do look great on people. The first collection did.
So it means they cut well, they fit well.
Yeah. So he obviously has all of that behind him. So whether this season was a misstep or we just don't get where he's going to take Vuitton, and this is the first of a long line of things that we don't understand yet. I'm interested to see. It didn't make me write off Vuitton, but just in terms of actually all of those ideas, in this huge set, in this thing, didn't translate into a cohesive collection. Whereas last season, it really did.
Well, let's go to Dior then, where Kim Jones had, for those that were not there and haven't seen it, had put this idea of men being works of art, being statues, and so they were static on a conveyor belt. And so in a way that was the opposite, because it was very simple. You know, you have a conveyor belt and these men standing on them. Apart from the fact that I sort of, when a collection is so strong, I like that there's no confusion around. And so I love the idea they were not even moving, even if actually we say clothes have to be seen in movement. They were not moving, but they were still human, so they were not statues. And I cannot see anything in this collection that was wrong. I think the way he translated couture into men, which is what John did already last season. So there is this, in these great designers, there's this need of using the couture technique for great tailoring in men. The styling was perfect, the color palette, the material. I mean, I think it was, and it was not old fashioned at all, like some people said. I wouldn't even compare it with what Virgil did. It was just a great collection. It was very smart and very fresh.
It was incredibly smart, and those extra volumes seen on the suits I just thought were really, really beautiful, and lots of people had tried to do similar things. I mean, so that look there that we have did remind me, and I'm not saying this Dark Prodigy way, in the scarf jackets from Ralph Simmons last season, but these were tighter, they weren't on the big coats. So people have been playing with this volume for a few seasons, as we've said, but this felt like the synthesis of all of that work, all this research that different designers have done, and Kim hit the nail on the head and got those volumes right. They seemed wearable, they seemed beautiful enough to demand a high price tag, which of course these will carry. And the presentation was simple enough to really let them stand out.
And also, if you're a young man like you, imagine you need to wear a suit for something, you know, whatever, you suddenly become a lawyer in the city. And that's an amazing modern way, yet beautiful, perfectly tailored way to wear a suit. And I don't think 1 second that it's an old-fashioned suit.
Not at all. And also what we learned from going to the showroom is that all of these excess bits of fabric can be taken off very easily. It's just...
what do you mean? Oh, so the scarf, the wraps,
So I think it's 2 buttons or 2 clips and they're gone. So then you can...
I would never let it go, but I see what you mean.
But if you do need to go to an office, but then you're going to somewhere else afterwards. You can take it off, wrap it around your neck, do whatever, and then you don't have to redrape it. It just clips back into place and falls that way. So it's actually, whilst looking very visually complicated, you'd have to wrap it around all these different ways, but actually it's very simply done so that whoever is wearing it can have this addition, but then can also go to wherever they need to go. And then small details such as like...
From desk to evening, what they say, from desk to dance floor.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, even small details like... So there were the little neck harnesses with the little square that said Dior in a beautiful kind of brownie leather. And backstage he was just saying, oh, they're for Apple AirPods because I keep losing mine.
Okay.
So it was a little case to put your AirPods in.
That's quite
It's just quite funny because it was just like, well, I keep losing mine, so I thought, why not make a case for it so I don't lose them?
Yeah, well, they do have a case, but then you have to put it in your pocket, which is complicated. Yeah,
so he was losing it. And then there was a phone case that was really big. And he was saying, oh, well, I have a work phone and I have a personal phone, so I need a phone case for both, otherwise I forget them. So like these things, I mean, it's a certain kind of man, but it is a reality.
And those were made by Matt Williams?
Yeah, informed by Matt and Yoon, I don't know.
From Alex?
Yeah, from Alix, and then Yoon from Ambush. The 3 of them worked together on hardware and accessories. And
that's an interesting collaboration as well, because first of all, I like the fact that designers collaborate now, they don't only compete.
Yeah, and they're all at each other's shows and they're showing
we've seen a lot of that. And that was really beautiful because it's quite new. I mean, they've been divisive and not seeing each other, never been seen together for a while. And now not only they do, but they have the same thing on the catwalk, and that will bring me into Valentino and Undercover.
Yeah. But I'm just quickly on the kind of collaboration, that's why you see this more in menswear. It feels like more of a community that someone sitting at home, not in London, not in a fashion city, could feel like they become a part of, because it feels more open, whereas with womenswear you have that less. And that's what I was trying to say earlier about menswear being more accessible and kind of visually, not necessarily by price, but because there seems to be this community and this friendship there that is translated over social media and by photos of people at other people's shows, whereas women's wear feels more rigid.
Yeah, but
overall.
also I think what you said is very true, but I also think that by putting great talents together in collaboration, in creativity, it's just much more than 1 + 1 = 2. I mean, the sky is the limit, and also, of course, they use their best talent in the best way. You know, one is better for this, probably Matthew is better for accessories, and I don't know. I mean, I thought it was very beautiful, and that's why I insist on talking about Valentino and Undercover, because I thought it was done in a very modern way. Not only the shows, and we can then talk about the shows, but the fact that both on the same day were using the same prints, can I call them like that, or illustration in the same, in a show, in a different brand show. I know you're not a fan of Undercover, whilst I am.
No, I wasn't.
Am I mistaken?
But no, other way around. Georgie wasn't such a fan of the Undercover show.
Okay.
I wasn't such a fan of the Valentino show.
Okay. Well, I like both. So let's go into that. What are we seeing Valentino?
Yes, so that's Valentino.
What was the problem with Valentino show?
It wasn't such a problem, but in terms of the whole show, it just felt it was very, very beautifully cut, very
very chic.
Very chic, but it didn't do much more for me than be that. And when we were seeing things like Dior and that one that we'll talk about later, it didn't stand out. Whereas what happened at Undercover is he used. So for me and Valentino, the pinnacle was the Undercover collaboration, whereas at the Undercover show, that was the underpinning of the whole collection. Then he built on that an extra collection. So that was my kind of understanding of it. But
I also think that there is a negative bias on these shows of Pierpaolo, because there is such great expectation, especially in his couture, but it's women's as well, that people think that it should have the same fireworks. First of all, that's not where it comes from, but I think it does it very well. And second, I think Valentino man doesn't need to be Louis Vuitton or Undercover. You know, I think Valentino man, that's what it needs to be, chic with a little bit of a twist. But I don't even think they sell a lot of men. But maybe I'm wrong. I didn't look at the figures.
So I totally understand that at the moment their client base isn't willing to go. Their male client base isn't the same as their female client base and doesn't want that. But I would quite like
to see more creativity.
Not even yes, but this is still creative because there's actually very kind of staple wardrobe pieces and just cut in a boyish way and in the slightly oversized, relaxed way, which is nice and takes skill to make it look so simple, as we saw with Vuitton.
That's very well said.
It's actually hard to do something simple, so I'm not kind of undermining that at all. But actually, men and women are so impacted by his couture and women's wear shows that surely that's enough evidence to say, okay, I need to bring some of this philosophy over to my menswear. Because seeing those shows, it doesn't matter if you can wear them or not, the couture shows or the women's shows, they impact you. So I don't see why that philosophy hasn't been taken over to the menswear yet. Because surely he has enough evidence that men are reacting to his women's wear so strongly.
Yeah, but that's very much John's theory, and I respect that. But maybe it's not Pierpaolo's one. You know. Also, I don't think that in a couple people should wear the same brand, or even two men or two women alike, or I don't think. But okay, let me put it like this. Since I don't think that in reality that's necessary, I don't understand why in fashion one has to inform the other.
No, I don't necessarily
It's not what you meant?
I'm not necessarily saying that he should make shirts out of the same fabric he made his women's wear dresses out of, but I'm just saying that voluminous energy and those references that he is looking at, I think should be brought in more, just the ethos, not necessarily visually looking identical, but in a man's cut.
Those gowns, I can barely see them here.
Yeah, but I just think that ethos that he's using to design, there is a disconnect between the menswear and the women's wear, which serves some brands, and I'm sure served Valentino well for a long time. But now, men and women, and pretty much everybody, are reacting so well to the ethos and the beauty of the women's wear that I would like to see some of it brought into the menswear, because I believe that it will do really well financially and creatively for them.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just seeing his last couture show in my head, and I'm not a creative though, and I can barely. I understand what you say. I can't see it.
No, I don't know how it would look, and that's why I want to see it, because I want how would that play off each other?
I don't know. Maybe I'm the boring one who always put the where the brand stands when I see a collection as well, and sometimes I judge collection not because of my taste or how it pushed fashion forward, but also what it stands for the brand in question. I think one who's doing that perfectly is Kim again. Not to brag too much about him, but it's. What he's doing is not only extraordinary, but it's perfect for Dior, for what Dior stands for. Maybe that's what you mean by the ethos. Yeah,
and also, I mean, realistically, it's like Pier Paolo all of these clothes that we're seeing here, that could have been shown, this is quite a harsh way. Could have been shown in a showroom, and he could have done something completely, visually stunning and had this collection to back it up. So that is also a way that things work, like when John did his artisanal collection and he had a ready-to-wear collection that wasn't shown to back it up. I'm not saying that works for everyone, but there are different ways to go about it.
Yeah,
and I think
I hear you. Yeah. Great. We need to move on because Paris, by the way, we haven't said, but Paris was really big. I mean, the week felt like a women's wear week. It was so not only hectic, but I mean, full of important things. I mean, just in passing, we had Raf showing the first show after the Calvin Klein disaster, and I think it showed.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it was like a coming. I think it was Tim Blanks that called it a coming home. And I agree. It was, like it or not, this show was like, this is me. This is what I stand for. This is what I do, and this is what I want to do. I personally liked very much, especially the outerwear.
There actually isn't much else.
Yeah, there wasn't much else. There wasn't much else, but I mean,
I'm sure there is, but
those big coats were just extraordinary. I mean, did I like the hats? No, but who cares? It was.
They bring a silhouette. I mean, they started reminding me of kind of soldiers in the Second World War.
Yeah, a little bit too much for me. I don't like that. But I personally, I'm like a little bit. I don't like that reference, but that's me. So I'm not criticizing it, but I think there were some outerwear tailoring. Not only they were in quantity and beautiful in color and in shapes, but they were also different. So you could choose your own shape, and it was giving you some liberty, like short and wider and long and like, how do you say, more than thin, like, how do you say?
Waisted.
Yeah, like close to the body, and I thought it was very good, and I think there were some standout pieces there, and I think he's quite happy to be back.
Yeah, it definitely felt like a celebration. Well, the first, because
back in Europe, I mean, the brand never went away.
But that there was the first 10 or 15 looks and then an intermission.
Yeah.
So the first half of the show was very somber, all black, all white, with these kind of soldiery-looking boys.
I was in New York and I was so unhappy, right?
And then there was this big intermission, and then this live band came on, this post-punk band from Belgium, and then it was colour and celebration, and you had all like Laura Dern from Blue Velvet that there were lots of images of. There were lots of celebrity friends and also kind of press friends and just his friends that were there. And afterwards, you couldn't get out because there's such a huge crowd around him. He was so happy. It was one of the only shows in menswear to have a standing ovation when he came out, because it was his first public appearance.
But that shows how much he's not only loved but also respected, because you can be loved as a person, but if you're a crap designer, I mean, that's not happening. And the Calvin Klein thing was very public, and again, sometimes I think these people are not commodities. Just treat them. I mean, it was probably wrong casting for the brand, not for the talent.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, someone should be taken responsible inside the brand. It's not all his fault.
And the
fact that it was welcomed so warmly was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and it was a very celebratory event, and the collection isn't my favourite Raf collection, but it is extremely beautiful. I love that he's taken on the outerwear from last season and kept some of it in shorter caban shapes. And then there are these pops of colour, which
fantastic.
It's really great considering everything else is beige pretty much in the whole of the world at the moment. Everyone's doing beige. So it's
because
nice.
The world is pretty beige.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of in my head how I kind of divided it as people who have done beige to reflect this kind of sad dystopic end of the world, and the people who have done colour to kind of really kind of rectify that. Is basically you can split the collections down in half. But it was really, really lovely. It wasn't in terms of collections my favourite Raf one, but it was a really strong, welcome back. And I hope he focuses on his brand and he doesn't need a house.
Well, no, also because my hope is that finally we would have Raf for women. You know, I mean, I don't know if we're seeing this orange coat with very, oversized and very wide shoulders. I just can't wait to have it in a 36 French size and wear it. You know, it's. Yeah, I think he should do his own brand, and he should be calling it Raf and men and women or genderless or whatever, but focus on that, and he's going to do well and be finally happy.
Yeah, I think so.
But talking about his own brand, I need to leave some room for Vetements at the end because I know you're eager to talk about that, but we cannot not talk about Celine and Hedi.
Yes.
That's why I'm saying talking about his own brand. Anyway, I thought it was an extraordinary show as a show.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing is by chance in Hedi, and a tent in Place de la Concorde, looking over the Champs-Élysées.
That moving.
Extraordinary music.
Yeah.
We cannot deny that. Interesting collection, Hedi doing Hedi, but I've been attacked for saying, but that's what he does. But I don't think there is nothing offensive here.
No.
I think there's some good tailoring as well. There's some very commercial pieces. So Hedi's also saying maybe I should be kinder to commerce.
The first thing that I saw was this light structure you see in the back actually started the other side of the room before the show and swung across. And the only thing I could think was it was a reference to everyone saying he'd taken a wrecking ball to Celine.
Oh.
That's what I saw. I don't know if I was reading too much into it, but it really made me laugh.
I don't think he would do that himself.
Well, I mean, it's this big ball swung across the room.
Well, maybe he has. Yeah, maybe he has. Let's hope Phoebe's going to go to Chanel, but that's a different story.
I take all the drama from September away, and the clothes are really great. They're kind of Balenciaga-esque of that man who takes his own clothes and finds his own vintage shops and styles them really well.
Balenciaga-esque, really?
Yeah, I saw Balenciaga in it. Not saying it was kind of like cut and paste, but I saw the same ethos in some of the way these men were dressed and in the styling. I saw a lot of that from the.
I think it's. I mean, I had some private messages and email and comments on what I said in the panel from retailers and buyers. They are uber enthusiastic. I mean, I got attacked by my audience for loving Hedi too much, but I also don't think if you don't like the man, it doesn't mean you have to say a collection is bad just for a sec. This is not a bad collection.
No, it's not.
Do I like skinny ties? No, but who cares? You know, I don't need it. Exactly. There is great tailoring. There are beautiful jackets. This collection is going to sell. Very well.
I actually did really like it if you take away all of this stuff around it. But also one thing I was reading is that obviously when he shows his women's wear, we have all the pre-history of what Phoebe did at Celine, whereas this menswear is new for Celine.
It's new, exactly.
So you don't compare it to anything else. And actually, that I know a lot of men that do want to dress like this, and I know a lot of women who want to wear the outerwear, and I know a lot of people who can get involved, and actually sometimes that's just what you need. That's
just what you need. I mean, for those that don't know, but I guess everybody who doesn't live under a rock, they know that this is the first menswear for Celine ever. So not only Hedi's first for men Celine, but it's the first men. So what you said is very true. You know, there's no memory to regret or miss. There's nothing, to say, oh, I miss it.
I think it's really clever he decided to do a menswear show, because originally they weren't going to.
So it rebalances the the negativity on the Celine
and I think it actually,
morning?
Yeah, I think so. And I think actually he has a lot of area to grow if he keeps showing single menswear shows. I think there's a huge business to be put there, because it is a new silhouette.
And yet,
it's an old silhouette.
Yet someone asked me, what man, no matter how much they like the new Celine's men's looks, what man will enter a Celine store? It's such a female brand. It's always been, So you have to cross that door that says Celine, no matter how. Thanks to Hedi, the men's by Celine will be important. But you see what I mean? So we'll see. But I think there are some very interesting and desirable pieces here.
100%.
Let's go into your favorite.
Yay.
Okay, let's talk about more.
Favorite.
I just need to do a little bit of a pre here. As you know, we discussed that before. Full disclosure. I was one of the supporter of Demna. From the beginning. I have loved what he stands for. I've loved his attitude, and I even loved a lot of Vetements until probably a year and a half ago. I think ever since he went to Balenciaga has gone from strength to strength, and better to best, whatever you can say. I think Vetements is becoming a little bit of a joke.
I think there was a feeling when they did the lookbook and they didn't show, and they did that kind of.
He joked himself. Yeah. All I got is this overpriced Vetements T-shirt, whatever, for my birthday. So, explain to me what I don't get.
So, I was at the show, and I think possibly if I hadn't have been there, I wouldn't liked it, because the clothes, some of them I actually do quite like, but actually what I loved from it was as an art director point of view, and as just a creative kind of synthesis of something. And I was standing there and I just saw all of these amazing, when I was at the show, I was just seeing, it was reminding me of the Marc Jacobs grunge collection, not visually, but in this kind of ethos and this idea. The Margiela reflective collection. And what this was about is that the idea that the dark web, and that actually there's all of this dark, punky, terrifying drugs, murderers, all these horrible things hidden, but the only people who can access them are people who understand the internet. So there's kind of this automatic power of information of only certain people can access certain things. So he was looking at that, and kind of he was saying that nerds are the new punks. And that was interesting as a concept, but didn't go far. But just the angst we feel in the world. Like, today we have Trump tweeting about global warming, we have Brexit, Theresa May not knowing what the hell's going on. Just this morning on the train, I was reading all of this stuff, and you do feel powerless, but to show and have this energy of someone just fucking up their clothes and fucking up their teddy bear, and like this, which is a joke, but also felt a lot more real than going to the undercover show about Clockwork Orange, or going to Valentino, or even Com, that was just felt a little surface. This had a real energy.
I mean, I do get it that designers needs to acknowledge what's going on in the world, and the world is beige, so beige is back. Whatever, we've had too much streetwear, and so tailoring is back. I get it, but it's a bloody fashion show, and the clothes here are a joke. Maybe if I go to a showroom and I see piece by piece, but the way, and I wasn't there, and don't get me wrong, I love animals, so I love the taxidermy in the Musée de l'Évolution. I mean, but those men with the face covered in just a little light of the phone, I think it was a little bit too descriptive. I'm like, I get it, I get it, we're angry, I get it, we're upset. Just show me some good clothes.
Hearing about, the metaphors behind it also, so what Demna was saying was that he still takes public transport.
Yeah, I read it, and he's recognized.
Well,
in Zurich, I don't think so.
Well, he was saying that people take photos of him or look at his phone screen and see what he's working on, whether it's true or not. It is, I've had situations, not where I've been recognized or anything, but where I've been looking at kind of Nick's next projects, big campaigns on my phone, and I'd be like, think, shit, what if someone sees this? What if, So I do understand this idea that we are taking personal information.
Look at that in a public place.
But we're taking private information and just having on this little thing.
I know.
There's all these ideas that I felt really related to.
I understand. I understand. I understand. And honestly, I hear you. And I wasn't there, and so I even more hear you. And I get emotional at shows, and I always say the holistic thing around it, and. It's that. However, I'm a little bit offended by the shows. That's what.
I said, on the other side of that, if you take that pink dressing gown as a product, not as an idea to be packaged up or whatever, the actual product, I do understand most of it isn't particularly high quality, particularly well thought out.
And overpriced.
And extremely overpriced.
But Demna, don't get me wrong, I was there from the beginning, I supported this thing. I mean, what he did for fashion, because now we tend to forget talking about Virgil, but what Demna did for fashion, and I remember it was at the beginning of Alessandro Michele reign at Gucci, and it changed the whole thing. So thank you, and I have Vetements pieces. However, what he does today for Balenciaga is fantastic and very important, and I can't wait to see more. I think it should be careful not going too far, because then people like me who always loved him say this, and that's not good. And also, I wonder commercially if that stuff sells.
I believe it will sell, probably not in the volumes it used to sell. But the way that I see it, and people do take genuine problems with designers doing this, is, so he's got a huge house now, so he's making money, he's making clothes that sell. So in the same way...
Says who? Are we sure he's got a huge house?
Balenciaga.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about
no. Yeah, he's got Balenciaga.
For sure, yeah.
So he's got that, and then in the same way, a photographer will do a campaign that sells, that makes some money, so he can go do creative projects, or a musician. Why can't this be almost an art project that is shown for a medium of Fashion Week, and then he does Balenciaga that has its sales, that has its connection to the real world, but this is more of an art project, like Rottingdean Bazaar was in London for a while.
Yeah, I'm not very keen on that. I hear you, but I'm not very keen on that because there's fabric wasted and time wasted and people working for no reason. I don't know.
I'm sure it does have a commercial aspect, but that's the way that I like to see it, and I don't see why fashion shows can't be used as a medium.
But I'm sure it doesn't sell as much as it did.
No, I'm sure it doesn't. But
we're really running out of time.
Sorry.
Quickly, you said to me you really love GmbH.
I really love GmbH. I thought it was very exciting. They're moving away from sportswear in that kind of press.
It was a lovely collection.
It was a lovely collection. The ethos behind it was all about what happens when we run out of natural resources and have to move to another planet because we're fucking this one up. The motifs.
Really?
The motifs there and nettles.
The nettle dress in lycra or whatever it is really, really gorgeous.
And that's the idea of a weed that no one wants but we can't get rid of, and this idea that we're poisoning this planet and there's nothing we can do to stop it, and actually looking, and then also simultaneously looking at beauty of things that are normally considered annoying, just that kind of ethos, and actually the clothes
are good,
are beautiful.
Apart from that denim,
you have to have denim.
No, yeah, but that denim, it looks like someone threw acid at them. To me.
Oh, I didn't read it.
I really don't like that, but
I read it as kind of molding.
Yeah,
kind of,
but it's the aesthetical result that doesn't do for me. But the rest, I mean, there's number 1 or 2. It's the fantastic coat. Then there is another off-white coat, and the nettle dresses, and the nettle also on the men's tops. I think it's really good. I think they're going. I mean, what is it? The 3rd show, 4th?
I think they've done a few lookbooks. I think this might be their 5th or 6th collection. But their progress and the pattern cutting up close is really, really strong. And they've not made it out of Berlin, but they've managed to build something in a place where the fashion isn't particularly well respected, and hopefully Berlin gets more attention from the work that they're doing.
And I love seeing these people coming from more unexpected places, but putting, the beauty of the place where, I mean, Berlin is fantastic, we all know. So I love the fact that there are these young brands that pop up and become so successful, and that's why I'm angry with Vetements for not liking it. I really want to love it, and we'll see. Anyway, I want to close on a positive note. Paris was incredible. I mean, there would have been so much more to talk about. It ended a men's season that really showed how much importance men's fashion is getting, not only commercially, but also in the street. You see,
street stars,
men dressing up, and it's so fantastic.
It's exciting. And I think, sorry, just quickly to add
to
go
that, ahead.
One of the really lovely things about men's is, whilst obviously it's a very busy schedule, it's a lot less relenting than women's wear.
Women's wear. So it's a pleasure to do.
Well, it's a pleasure to do, but also you just have that 20 minutes after a show to go back and speak to someone, or to sit down and grab a coffee and to analyse.
Digest it.
Whereas during women's wear, there's a show every hour on the dot. You have to totally change. 1 second you're seeing demi couture, and the next second you're seeing kind of a slip dress. It's just too much. It's fine, but you don't have that time to really analyse. Whereas menswear, you have the designers have an extra half an hour of your attention, and that can really make the difference. Yeah, it was a very, very important season. We end with this head-to-head on men's. Don't go away. We're going to be very soon back with couture. So goodbye for now.